going to talk to you a little bit about LSU, my favorite topic. Very proud graduate. I have a couple of kids at LSU. I've spent the last 21 years in pocket on campus at LSU, and just this serving as the interim president has been a tremendous privilege, and I enjoy it enormously. And I think I'm well positioned to speak with you about what's been going on at LSU and what it is that we are accomplishing. It's always a privilege, really, to share the story of LSU and the good things that we have going on. Today, I'm going to confine my remarks mostly, since you are the Baton Rouge Press Club, to the Baton Rouge campuses. So here we have the flagship campus, but of course we have Pennington Biomedical Research Center, a globally renowned nutrition center, and then as well we are also the home here to the administrative footprint of the LSU Ag Center. And here we have various LSU Ag Center assets in town as well, including a 3,000-acre research farm off of Nicholson Drive, as well as the Burden Gardens over off of Essen Lane, which I'll talk about in a little bit. You're going to hear a story today that really describes something phenomenal that's been going on at LSU for Louisiana for the last several years. And what you're seeing is what I would consider to be a meteoric rise of a higher education brand that is going beyond national to global recognition. And at the end of the day, what we're achieving with this rise in our brand is an elevation of Louisiana itself, and we're bringing great things to Louisiana. So that's kind of the storyline that I'm going to focus on today. And that's because the brand itself and the work that we do in our areas of education and learning, discovery, innovation, and research, and extension and community engagement all focus on excellence, they all focus on innovation, and they all focus on impact. And today, and every day, you hear us say, at LSU, we build teams that win in Louisiana for the world. And hopefully by the end of this discussion, you'll have a really clear sense of what it means to be winning for Louisiana and driving impact at the local level, but doing so in such a way that we're having salutary impacts well beyond Louisiana at the national and global level. Let's start out by talking a little bit about students and learning. We just admitted a freshman class to LSU. You probably heard a little bit about it. But most people don't really understand the depth of what exactly it is that we're accomplishing here. So if you rewind 7 or 8 years ago, we were getting about 17, maybe 18,000 applications a year. This last year, we got 50,000 applications. And we just admitted and received on campus our largest freshman class in history, almost 8,200 students. Our most well-qualified class in history, their average grade point coming out of high school is a 3.85. I don't know about y'all, but I would not have been a good candidate for this freshman class when I was 18 years old. 458 valedictorians in this class, so we're getting elite students. The largest number of Louisiana kids that have ever come in a freshman cohort. Over 5,100 students from Louisiana showing up on our campus, building that talent pipeline in Louisiana for Louisiana. And the largest honors college cohort that we've seen, we now have 11 or 1,200 students in the honors college, which is a very hard bar to get into. So we are attracting students both within state and out of state like crazy. And let me be clear, as the higher education professional in the room, students vote with their feet, parents vote with their pocketbooks. They're not doing it, frankly, because they want to go to a school that has a good football team. And that's not disrespecting our football team, because we're 3-0, and whether it's pretty or not, winning is a binary outcome, and we won 3 games in a row. Yes. All right, go Tigers. National surveys repeatedly show that students and parents make their decision on where they're going to go for their higher education experience based on the perceived quality of the academic experience. That we are providing an exceptional, high caliber academic experience for our students, and that's what is drawing more and more people here. The word is getting out that we have elite faculty, meaning they're the best in the business in their fields, and they're coming here, the students are coming here in droves because they want to be part of something special, and they want to be prepared for their future. Over the last couple of weeks, as I've milled around campus, I'm greeting students from Minnesota and Maine, kids from Utah, kids from all over the country, all over the world, in fact. And I asked them, like, what's going on? Why are you here? And they tell you, I'm so excited about my future. This is where I'm going to build it. LSU attracted me because I know this is where I'm going to get the educational experience. This is where I'm going to get the skills and the tools that I need to go on and be successful. This generation is focused, they're driven, and they want to start planning now for their success in the future. That's what I'm hearing as the guy milling around campus talking to the kids that are actually there. So, on the enrollment front, we're drawing them in like crazy. We are also deeply engaged in dual enrollment. So just so you know, that's telescoping the pipeline down into high school to give these students an opportunity to envision themselves coming here, gives them a chance to kind of test drive the car, so to speak. We have 3,905 students enrolled in LSU dual enrollment programming as of last night. So we have thousands of kids that are in high school that we're currently serving and supporting as well. And I'll talk about a little bit about the nature of that early childhood to twilight pipeline a little bit later. So just on the enrollment front, because of the rise of the brand, word is out, people are coming in. But what are we doing with them? This is the question, right? Parents want their kids to get a job. Kids want to get a job, and they want to be successful, and they want to have a good life. We want to make sure that as educators, we're giving them a set of experiences and tools that prepares them. And if you read the newspapers like I do, if you pay attention to what's going on in labor markets like I do, you realize, like, we have to be pretty quick on our feet here. We have to be nimble. We have to make sure that we're not teaching what was relevant 10 years ago. We need to be teaching what is relevant 10 years from now. I always use the phrase that the hockey great Wayne Gretzky used, which was, you're not trying to skate behind the puck, you're trying to skate to where the puck is going to be. And that's what we're doing in higher education here. So we have a set of programmatic tools in place that we're constantly refining in order to ensure that we're giving these students the cutting edge skills that they need. So what is, if I'm a student right now and I'm going to get graduated in the next few years and I'm going into the labor market, what am I expecting? Because many of us, some of us have been in the labor market for 30, 40 years, 50 years. Many of us went to school for something and we've been in that industry our entire lives. That's mostly not what we are preparing students to do. We went through a generation a few years ago, a decade or so ago, where we were educating them to stay in an industry, but to jump around jobs within an industry. So we were expecting students to change employers, but if you were in healthcare, you would mostly stay in healthcare. If you were in construction, you would mostly stay in construction management. If you were in education, you would mostly stay in education. Our expectation is that students who are graduating are not only going to change jobs significantly, but are actually going to be changing industries, which means, honestly, it's kind of back to the basics. Like, we have to make sure they have the set of what we used to call soft skills, I call them essential skills, that young people will need to be able to transfer from industry to industry as they jump around in an ever-evolving job market. So how do we do that? Well, surveys from the Society of Human Resource Managers, which is a national organization that focuses on hiring across industries, repeatedly, year after year after year, show that one of the foremost skills that employers are really looking for with their students are communication skills. You need to be able to communicate, but it's not just public speaking. They need to have written communication skills. They have to have multimedia presentation and digital skills. And so it's to ensure that we are supplying that experience to our students. At LSU, as part of our accreditation, we have to have what's called a quality enhancement program. And our quality enhancement program is called Go Communicate. And what we're doing is requiring that all students have a set of experiences in their classes that plus up their communication skills across modalities so that they're well prepared, more prepared than they would have been on the communication front. As well, we're trying to make sure that students are work ready. Remember, LSU was founded through the Morrill Act of 1862, and the Morrill Act, the language of it literally says the intent of this act is to ensure that states can educate the sons and daughters of toil. It was meant to be a reaction to the elite East Coast schools that were keeping people out, and instead to give the public accessible and practical tools so that they could get an education and drive economic growth within the states. So we're actually doubling down on our land grant commitment right now because we're focusing on making sure that students are workforce ready. One of the key ways that we are doing that is really amping up our connections to employers and ensuring that students are getting internship opportunities and co-ops. I think 61 or 62% of our students that graduated last year when they graduated, had at least one internship experience. That's getting there, but that's not where we need to be. My expectation is that we get to a place where everybody that I hand a degree to and I give a high five has already had their internship experience and that they are workforce ready. So that's something that we are going to continue to emphasize. I will say, and I do try to use platforms like this as sort of a bully pulpit, we need to have connections with business and industry. We have thousands of connective partners, but we can't have enough. It's like a sponge, right? We can continue to absorb partnerships. And so we need, in the Baton Rouge area and beyond, anybody who has running a business, come talk to us about partnering up to make sure that we can get our students connected in your operations with real-world experiences to help prepare them for the workforce. So internships are something that we are going to continue to emphasize. And then as well, on the learning front, we always pride ourselves on the fact that we're not just educators. We're not just doing reading, writing, and arithmetic. We're the flagship. Our job is to educate the next generation of innovators and civic leaders. Civic leadership could not be more important in American culture right now. So we are doing everything we can to supply those tools to students. And this really hit home the other day because we had Fall Fest out on the drill field, out on the parade grounds. And I think everybody else was walking around and they were seeing dozens and dozens of tables with our student groups. You know, the Society of Dental Associates and the pre-law group and this and that. And many people are seeing student organizations. That's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing are professional development and leadership development opportunities for our students. Because every one of those clubs and every one of those chapters has a president, they have a vice president, they have a treasurer, they're managing their business. And these are students who are doing everything they can to build up their own skill set, to go out and be that next generation of civic leaders that we so sorely need. And we do this in other ways too. I'll jump ahead to it. You know, while we're mostly focusing on higher education, don't forget that through the Ag Center we have 4-H programming around the state. 4-H supports about 130,000 kids a year. And that is the leadership development pipeline for the state, right? That's where we catch them early, we give them a set of tools that help build personal responsibility, help them build a connection to their local community, and helps them give them a set of tools over the years that will prepare them for public service. So it's no surprise then that when I go down to the legislature and I say, representatives and senators, throw your hand up. If you're a 4-H'er, like 3/4 of the room puts their hand up. Right? And this is a core LSU function. And I just want you all to know that it is front and center for us as we're educating students and preparing them for the workforce. We're not preparing cogs in the machine, we're preparing leaders. And that's something that distinguishes us and sets us apart, and something that we're very, very proud of. So that's on the learning and enrollment thing. And this is one of the things, all of those things together continue to help us to elevate the brand and draw in students who are serious about their future and their higher education. Another major function, of course, that we have is discovery and innovation. Right? We are, and remember, discovery and innovation, research, that drives economic growth in many, many ways, and I can give plenty of examples of that. As a system last year, we set another record, because we're setting records all over the place, because that's how LSU does it, with $543 million in research expenditures. That's over $500 million in research activity. On average, the federal government generally says that for every dollar you have in research expenditures, it generates $3 in economic growth. But that actually varies significantly by field. For example, the USDA estimates that for every dollar spent in agricultural research, that actually generates about $20 in economic activity. And I'll give you a specific example of how that works. So we are the foremost sugarcane producing state in the country. We have over $500,000 in sugar cane under cultivation, half a million acres in sugarcane under cultivation right now. For more than 100 years, the LSU Ag Center has been developing new varieties of sugarcane. So you can yield more per acre, you can grow them in different soil types, you can grow it in more northernmost latitudes. We have sugarcane that's growing up by Alexandria now. This is a tropical plant. It's not even meant to grow in North America. But we've developed such robust varieties that they can grow it anywhere. Well, last year, the rough estimates are that the gate value of sugarcane harvest was about $1.4 billion, I think. 70% of that sugarcane grown were varieties developed by LSU scientists down in St. Gabriel. Right? Our people developing those plant varieties. That value was $940 million in the pockets of Louisiana farmers. Like, that is Louisiana science in action, driving economic development and economic growth. And that's just one example. I could hold you hostage for days going after one example after another of how research directly impacts our lives and directs economic growth in Louisiana. So research is critical to what we're doing, and we're continuing to lead nationally and internationally in that regard. Hopefully many of you have heard about our efforts to secure a National Cancer Institute through our biomedical research activity. We continue to make progress on that. We're getting there. Over the last couple of weeks, we had the two gentlemen who direct the federal NCI program down to New Orleans to our Health Sciences Center. And we met with them, and they said, you guys are making great progress. Keep it up. We look forward to getting your application. So we're charging forward on that. That is a multi-institutional effort there, where it involves the flagship, it involves the Ag Center, it involves Pennington Biomedical, it involves both of our health sciences centers, the one in New Orleans and the one in Shreveport. So we're making great progress there, kind of supporting that and some other biomedical research. We recently held an LSU Biomedical Research Symposium in which 150 members of our biomedical research team showed up here in Baton Rouge, and they discussed new directions that they're going to pursue collaboratively across campuses. Again, focusing their research on delivering positive health outcomes for Louisianans. Okay, we're focusing on solving Louisiana problems. So that's the biomedical space, and of course, don't forget, in the biomedical space, Pennington Biomedical Research Center is perhaps the foremost nutrition research center in the world. It is a global destination. Over 8,000 publications have come out of that operation over the years. We currently have, I think there alone, 2 of the most highly cited scientists in the world that are domiciled there and doing research. Their current funding portfolio, I think, is around $200 million or $250 million in active research grants. They're doing basic and clinical work. And Pennington, is like a crown jewel for Baton Rouge and for LSU in terms of the work that they're doing, and could not be more proud of their accomplishments. As well, we're doing cybersecurity work specifically for small businesses. We built this up very rapidly. I think in the computer science program where that's housed, we went from a few hundred students a few years ago, I think, to over 1,000 majors in there right now, because we're educating the next generation labor force that will focus on contemporary problems. And we have brought in some of the world's foremost experts in cybersecurity to come work at LSU, and we're making great strides there. We hold an elite designation from the National Security Agency. I think we're one of only 22 or 23 higher ed institutions in the country that have this. So we're clearly differentiated from the vast majority of higher education institutions there. So we're doing extraordinary things there. And then we continue, because we are an energy state, we continue to be a leader in energy-related research. We pulled together a carbon capture symposium a couple of weeks ago with 100 participants from industry, from higher ed, talking about new directions in research related to carbon capture. And it was right around then that we announced, because sometimes you just have to own it, so we just announced, LSU is announcing we are going to become America's energy campus. And you all can clap for that, because this is your LSU, and it's something you should be proud of. All right, so we're becoming America's energy campus. We have restructured our various institutes and centers into the LSU Energy Institute, and that's going to really fortify our strength there and enhance what we've been doing. And we're going to continue to deliver, and we're going to focus both on traditional energy and renewables, because honestly, our partners, our big corporate partners that are traditional oil and gas companies, are in both spaces, and they need partnership from us for both of those. So we're going to continue to win there. And then, so higher ed, so learning and enrollments, we're firing on all cylinders. Research, firing on all cylinders. We're continuing to push to get to the top 50 research institutions in the country. And just so you know, like, that is on the horizon. And there are some things that we're very highly ranked, and most people don't realize this, but for example, in agriculture, that is the topical area that the National Science Foundation ranks LSU highest. Last year, we were ranked 16th in the country out of 324 colleges and universities in agricultural sciences research. That next ranking comes out in November, and I'm looking at my good friend Frankie Gould from the Ag Center here, because I think we're expecting to jump up a few spaces there. We're making a run at being top 10. Of course, we're an ag school, we're an A&M school, so that should not surprise anybody. But that's something that we are exceptionally proficient in, and we're going to continue to be an international destination for researchers in that area as our global reputation continues to accelerate. And while I'm talking about the global reputation of LSU and the Ag Center, like, just to give you a feel for it, when I was at the Ag Center for the last 3 years, basically every couple of weeks, we have another contingent of international scientists coming in to the Ag Center, because they want to see what it looks like to do elite science, and they want to learn, and they go back. So there's a constant flow of international visitors through that part of LSU. We have it all over LSU, but in ag it's really pronounced, where we're a destination for global scientists because they want to learn from the best. And that also continues to enhance our global reputation there. All right, so that's the research piece. I don't want to belabor it too much, but if you want to see what winning looks like, go check out LSU's research program. Now let's talk a little bit about engagement, all right? So as a public land grant, and remember, we're a land, sea, and space grant institution. So as a public grant institution, we're not supposed to just be educating people and preparing them for the workforce. We're not just conducting discovery and innovation and research to ameliorate human suffering and to improve the human condition, but we have to translate that out. Science doesn't do you any good when you keep it in your back pocket, right? And so we have our engagement function, and we're continuing to pick up velocity on that. So just to give you some examples, of what that looks like. I told you a little bit ago how that starts early in life with things like our 4-H programs, where we're doing leadership development, and we're doing STEM training, and we do all kinds of things through 4-H programming. Here in East Baton Rouge Parish, we do engagement basically so that young people, those in middle school, get the opportunity to envision themselves coming to LSU. So we have our 6th grader program where we try to bring all of the 6th graders in the parish to campus every year so they get to see themselves here, and we tell them, this is your future. You should envision yourself coming here, especially for students that are prospective first-generation students. We need to help carry that message and let them envision themselves coming to the flagship, seeing themselves a part of it, and seeing that this is where their future lies as they plan out the great things that they want to go do. We have the Small Business Development Center there, which helps entrepreneurs to launch companies, and we do that at scale. And we also have what's called Foodie, which is our Food Innovation Institute, which supplies an incubator for food-based businesses. We've had dozens and dozens of those get stood up, and people get out there, and they're making a living based on the food products that they initially developed through our food incubator. It's been very, very successful. It's been with us for a long time. We engage by exposing people to state-of-the-art agricultural knowledge through our Ag Magic programs. We have Ag Magic up at Parker Coliseum, typically in the spring. All the little kids, I always go over there because I'd rather hang out with little kids than adults, to be honest with you. So I always go over there with the young kids, walk around with them, and to see the wonder in their eyes when they get to hold a little baby alligator, or when they get to pet a little chicken, right? And we're telling them this is the natural resource base of our state that you can be a part of. And they're tossing sweet potatoes around, and they're learning about our largest agricultural industry, which is forestry. And they're learning about all kinds of cool stuff. We have cows and goats out there. Everybody loves a baby goat, right? They love baby goats and all of that. But that's not like the 300 kids over at U-High Lab School that walk over a couple blocks. We had 10,000 kids in there last year. Think about this, right? I mean, we're bringing people in at scale, getting them thinking about these are industries in Louisiana that I might potentially contribute to as I become an adult. Out at Burden last year, we engaged people in a fun and festive type of activity when we did the Louisiana Lights Show. Did any of y'all go to that? Anybody go over to the Burden for the light show? Okay. So if you didn't see it, you need to go this next year because it's extraordinary. And you missed out because we had 38,000 people show up at that. Again, when LSU is doing something, we're not like dipping our toe in the water. Everything basically goes to scale right away because that's how we handle ourselves, and we try to have impact in everything we do. Huge economic development driver, making Baton Rouge a destination. We had people from 45 states come to see this light show. We had people from dozens and dozens of countries come here to see this light show. And all of it is Baton Rouge, Louisiana, LSU. They're getting a taste of our culture, and they're getting to understand what it is that we do. And we also do lots of other engagement things as well. I'm not even going to go down the rabbit hole of the Agricultural Cooperative Extension Service, but suffice it to say that last year they provided educational engagements to 1.4 million people. All right. So now, when I keep tossing these numbers out, you see what ultimately our goal is at LSU is to supply a heterogeneous portfolio of experiences that ultimately touches and improves the life of every single Louisianan. And we're doing it in novel and experimental ways that are transportable well beyond the confines of the state of Louisiana. So, let me just close with a few things. We talk relentlessly about winning, and what you can see here is we're attracting students at a scale we've never seen before. They're better quality than we've ever seen before. There's more Louisiana students that we're keeping here than we've ever seen before. We're attracting students from out of state that we need to keep here in our labor market to help drive economic growth in Louisiana. We're innovating and discovering for Louisiana, whether it's in the energy sector, whether it's in the agricultural sector, whether it's in the health sector, to improve the lives of Louisianans. Again, we're doing it at scale, and we're engaging, we're translating this out because we want to touch the life of every single Louisianan in ways that they haven't been touched before, to improve the quality of their lives and to improve the quality of life in Louisiana. If you were to go Google, show me headlines on higher education in America right now, you would think higher ed is a cesspool. And I'm here to tell you, LSU is not. We're winning all over the place. All right. And in fact, public confidence in higher education is actually turning around. 2 independent surveys were conducted over the summer, and they were released in July, both of which showed that public confidence in higher education, which had been slipping for the last 10 years or so, actually has turned around. It increased 6 points, and that was across the aisle. All right, so public confidence in higher education is turning around. Why, you might ask? What is going on? And the answer is, you have schools like LSU that are leading. We're leading for Louisiana, but we're leading for the country as well. We're staying down the middle of the road. We're getting people the tools that they need to be educated. We're discovering and supplying innovation to drive economic growth in America. And we're staying out of the culture wars. And it's making a difference, right? Confidence in higher ed is turning around. And I could not be more excited about it. And I'll just end by saying, we say all the time, and I've already said it a couple times because I'm just going to keep saying it, we build teams that win in Louisiana for the world. And what that means is we're doing things right. People often say to me, athletics is super important, which it is, and athletics is the front porch to LSU. And what I remind them of is LSU is like a big house. And we're a house that's got a wraparound porch. Athletics is one porch for sure, and that allows us to very effectively engage with one set of constituents and to elevate the brand in one way. But you get on the other porch and you see that we're deeply engaging with another audience, which is our academic audience. And then you get on another side of the house on another porch and you see that we're engaging with a research-related audience and so forth. And so around the house, we are engaging with our constituents, and in front of each of those front porches are different fields, and we're winning on the athletic fields, we're winning in every academic field, we're winning in research fields like crazy. And when we're winning for Louisiana. Thank you all, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
With the shooting that happened during the game on Saturday, even if it wasn't related to LSU, can you talk about whether there's going to be added security or maybe there's already structures or things in place that could help law enforcement in this case?
Sure. So the question was, with the shooting that happened on campus during the football game on Saturday night, are there any additional measures we will be taking?
Or are there cameras or something that might have been able to help law enforcement? Just what resources
okay.
are provided?
So, all right, so she said, or are there cameras or anything that might help in law enforcement? So let me give you a sketch on game day, the way it works. My understanding is we typically have between 500 and 600 law enforcement officers present on campus. It's a multi-agency effort. Our number one priority on game day is actually not winning the game. The number one priority is public safety, right? That's always our number one priority. We have cameras around campus. We have lighting that we continue to add to and augment, and we'll continue that effort. The law enforcement is wired in to one another so that anytime something happens on campus, they have protocols to go address it. And then we have a situation where I always have law enforcement detail with me as the president all the time, so that I'm always connected in case there's an emergency and they need the decision maker there. And then as well, we also have staff that are always accompanying or always right near the chairman of the board. So we're always like a connected web around campus. It was an unfortunate incident the other night. The fortunate part, as I understand the situation right now, is there were no shooting victims on campus, which is a plus. We are going to continue to remain vigilant in our work and ensuring that we can do everything we can to ensure a safe and healthy game day experience for everyone. Sure.
Are you getting adequate funds from the legislature? And what is the upcoming plan for fulfilling those needs?
Okay, so the question was, are we getting adequate funds from the legislature, and what is the upcoming plan for fulfilling those needs? So I think the fairest way to answer that question is this last legislative session, the legislature and the governor were frankly very good to LSU. We got an additional investment of $210, I think, $million. Is that roughly right, Dr. Jody? About $210 million across the LSU system in investment. And then, we run our operation in such a way that you always have to make every effort to help drive your own revenue. And so they've been very supportive, and we are, and they're supporting research, they're supporting engagement, they're supporting ensuring that we have the student experience. They are supporting capital outlay plans and so forth. And so we have, medium and long-term, long-range plans, particularly on the capital outlay side, to ensure that we can continue to refresh buildings, build new buildings, renovate buildings that need repairs and so forth. So we are going to continue with that plan. Yeah.
My question is along those lines. Of the $543 million in research grants you have,
Yes.
what percentage of those are federal grants and what percent of those are in jeopardy?
It's a good question. I don't know if anybody at my table. So the question was, of the $543 million in research activity, that was expenditures that we had last year, basically what percentage of our portfolio is federal? And the way it's typically broken out is, federal, state, and other, I think. Do you know off the top of your head? So here's the situation. I don't know the exact percentages, but I can answer your question, because then the question is, given changes at the federal level, how much are we going to be down? Right. All right. So on a normal day, prior to earlier this year, I would be jumping up and down saying we need a larger portion of our portfolio to be federally funded, because it's actually fairly heterogeneous. It's pretty mixed. In the current situation, that's a good thing, because if we were 90% reliant on federal funding and that started to slide back, then we'd be hurting. We have temporarily some of the NIH funding in particular has contracted, but now I just met with the chancellors the other day. Sounds like the NIH pipeline is starting to open back up. So it's not catastrophic, which is a plus. Anything that goes down is not great, but we're able to manage. And the other thing is, we are a research institution, and so even if there are changes at the federal level, we're not just going to get out of that business, because we're working for Louisiana. So we're going to double down our efforts and continue to do whatever we can. So it hasn't been terribly detrimental to us right now, and we're continuing to work every angle that we can to make sure that we're calibrating our priorities, to make sure that we are aligned with the federal priorities, and to make sure that we are pulling in all the dollars that we can to do work for Louisiana.
There was a recent publication, both in Newsweek and in Fortune, that cited the June unemployment rate for recent college graduates to be 5.8%, which is significantly higher than the overall population. And they attributed this to AI having a big influence on it. There are literally thousands of TikTok videos of seniors about to graduate, or those who have graduated, who've lost their job. They've directly attributed it to AI. They refer to college as a their words, not mine, scam. What would you say to parents who are looking to send their students to LSU or to any other university who may be wondering, gee, would they be far better off to get a construction job building these AI plants versus, I've seen projections of up to 37% of white-collar jobs will be eliminated by 2030. So what can you say to assuage concerns that parents out there may have about sending their child to get a college education, given the massive shift in AI taking away, particularly, you mentioned to the job market for college graduates? Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so to recast the long question, AI, its impact on the labor market, is it displacing jobs, and what to say to parents and students, right? So I actually remain very optimistic. I think that this is going to be a short-term calibration. I don't know that I'm 100% convinced that that many jobs are actually being completely displaced by AI. Remember, while you're saying they're saying up to 37% of jobs, white-collar jobs, might be displaced by AI, that's actually almost exactly the same as the estimated incorrect output rate for AI models, as I understand it. So what I'm saying is, you still need human intel. You need people to manage artificial intelligence and its output. So what I meant was, I've been reading that 30 to 40% of the output that comes from AI things needs to be validated because it's not necessarily correct. So we're still in this developmental phase. When I was speaking with my friend here, we were talking about the role of artificial intelligence in education, both at the primary and secondary level, as well as in higher education. And I think what we're going to see here is a fairly quick recalibration of how it is that we harness artificial intelligence, not only to elevate the educational experience, but to elevate jobs themselves and the workforce experience. So I still think everybody who's going to be viable in the labor market going forward is going to need the kinds of core sets of skills that higher education institutions like ours supply.
Yes, what is it going to take to convince the world that sports is academia because it's economic development, and I see a lot of fields in football, etc.
Okay. All right, so the question is, what's it going to take to convince the world, which is a big aspiration, to that sports is a legitimate part of higher education and academics, right? All right, so as somebody who was the chief academic officer at LSU for a while when I was the provost, you get used to explaining to people that athletics and athletic participation is actually a very critical co-curricular activity. It is a space where students not only develop and display their own physical and athletic prowess, but they learn leadership skills, they learn teamwork, they learn how to take direction, they learn commitment, and they learn discipline, and the kind of skills that I was talking about that I call essential skills. They're not soft skills, they're critical. They're absolutely critical for people to be successful. So that's just on the individual developmental front. And then there is the issue that athletics elevates Louisiana as a destination for people, especially our level of athletics. We are internationally renowned. We're national champions left and right over the last several years. And that drives economic growth. It puts money in the pockets of small businesses in Louisiana. It does a lot for LSU and so forth. So I'm riding the same train you are. I think it's great for us. And like I said, we're a house with a wraparound porch. Athletics is one audience. It's not the only one. And in fact, I can tell you, as I was texting with the athletics administration leadership the other day, yesterday after the game, we were continuing to say we are in full alignment here and we're winning as a team, right? Athletics and academics are mutually reinforcing to one another.
We have time for one more question.
Okay.
It was announced last week that Christine Slaughter is the new Chief Administrative Officer of East Baton Rouge Parish.
Yes.
She also has SAA, SA, and several different foundations she's on. And she is currently the lead on the committee to find a new president. Given she has 2 full-time jobs and all of these other things, will the LSU search committee choose someone else to lead the search?
I can't speak to that because as the interim, I'm not involved in the search at all. And what I can tell you is I currently serve as the interim president. Interim is the time frame, the role is president. And that's why I'm here today, because we're out here doing the job. LSU has, I think, 18,800 employees. It's a multi-billion-dollar institution. We just posted $500 million in research activity. Last year, we had 64,000 students. We've got hundreds of thousands of young people engaged through 4-H and other places. The place needs leadership, so they're gonna handle the search however they search it, however they handle it. I show up every day, check the door, it's open, and I go in and do the job. I'm sorry I can't answer your question more thoroughly than that, but that's basically what I can say.
Incoming freshmen, so 50,000 that's in the active for you, freshman, sophomore, junior.
No, so 50,000 was the number of applications for this freshman year, new applicants.
Freshman year.
And then,
which means I'm going away how high we are. Yeah, they take 10,000, but they get, as I told my son, 90,000, we're getting 50,000.
yeah, 50,000
For the freshman year, that's for the first time coming to
That's right.
LSU.
And so far this year, for next year's class, we're already 2,000 applications, and we're 2,000 applications ahead of where we were this time last year.
Yeah.
We may be at 70,000 applications. Word is out, man.
I'm trying to get my son to, I thought, well, I'll be at Ole Miss this week. That's last year, all the years as a freshman.
Yeah.
They had a curriculum there. They said, I want you to take them all out there about the big saddle of what we should work at. But LSU was a great effort.
Tell me, give us a chance.
I think it's going to be back. Thank you. It was great.
Look,
Thank you. You did a great job.
thank you.
This time on the ball. MMR, that's all.
Oh, MMR?
But, yeah, you got somebody coming in. We got it in a group of kids. We do a lot of challenge kids. We can set it up with the